and the select committee which went through this matter. This matter is a matter which is affecting so many Kenyans. Mr. Speaker, in 1998, when Senator Koskei was in secondary school or in primary, I don't know where, but that time, Mr. Speaker, I was already serving my second term in this House, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I recall that day I was traveling home in the morning, and I left very early in the morning, and when I arrived in Muhoroni at around 10, 11, I was asked where I had come from. I said I had come from Nairobi, and they asked me whether I was aware what had happened in Nairobi. I said I had no idea. I was told that there is a serious issue. There is a bomb blast which has happened in Nairobi, and many people have died, and that the American embassy was blown, and the cooperative, we used to call it bell bottom, building had shaken, and there were many buildings around which also had problems, including the headquarters of railways, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, since then, it is a long, long time, and many things have happened. There's a lot of water under the bridge, Mr. Speaker, sir. And Mr. Speaker, I can tell you for sure that the Americans who are in the American embassy, all of them here have been compensated. Some Kenyans who are also in that embassy have been compensated. Mr. Speaker, the only people who have not been compensated are the innocent Kenyans who are not within the embassy, those who are working, who are in their offices doing work, and those who were actually just in traveling, who are in public transport nearby that time. Mr. Speaker, some of them died, some of them were maimed. The kind of damage which has been done, Mr. Speaker, there is a lot of medical expenses which is needed for those people, the care mentally, even counseling for some of the people who are involved, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, you really wonder why Kenya, which has no reason, terrorists really have no reason to bomb Kenya. Because Kenya does not involve itself in very high international politics, where you have reason, where terrorists have reason of injustices happening elsewhere in the world, Mr. Speaker, to follow America, to follow them where they are, because they know, Americans know why these terrorists are following them for some injustices elsewhere, not in Kenya, Mr. Speaker. And then Kenyans become the pawn. They become victims of those injustices, Mr. Speaker. And then now when it comes to compensation, Kenyans have to cry. Kenyans have to follow. Kenyans have to pass resolutions in the Senate. Kenyans have to form some select committees to cry and plead and plead and plead so that they can be compensated, Mr. Speaker. They can be compensated from a fund which is there. That money is there, Mr. Speaker. And I understand this committee could not even secure appointments, to meet people who are in charge of American affairs around here within our country, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I think this is serious, and we have to call spade a spade. Mr. Speaker, we should not be mincing words. We should actually be, and I thank Honorable Kabindu. Honorable Kabindu, you have a feeling for our people. Some of them, I can tell you, Mr. Speaker, in that incident, a constituent of mine, I was the member of parliament for Bondo, a constituent of mine who was working in an American embassy, lost her head, and we buried her without her head. We just could only recognize the body. Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this happened to many, many Kenyans like that. People were maimed, completely maimed, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm speaking this with a lot of emotion because I feel so disappointed that a powerful country with so much money, with so much resources, just a paltry compensation for Kenyans who became victims is becoming such a big issue that we have to sit here and debate and plead, Mr. Speaker. Please, America, why don't you compensate our people? And let us call this thing a thing of the past. Let us bury it so that it does not give us those bad memories when we become victims of things which we have, of offenses which we have not committed against anybody. Mr. Speaker, we are clean. We don't commit offenses against other countries. They are only if there is any, it is very, very little interaction that we have internationally where people will have reason to come and bomb us, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I would not like to go deeply into all these issues, Mr. Speaker, but only I want to conclude, Mr. Speaker, by pleading once again, to the authorities, to the United States of America, to rethink this issue and find ways and means of calling this thing a thing of the past. Let us bury this matter and call it a thing of the past, and let us go in other chapters, and let us continue our good relationship. This government has very good relationship with the United States of America. Those relationships should continue without small hitches like this one, which is something which America is capable of putting behind their back without too much ado. Mr. Speaker, I hope that all of us will support this report, and with those very many or very few remarks, I beg to support the report. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Chute Mohammed.